Hello and welcome back to Formula 1 2020 My Team, where, as you can see, we are racing for Quantum Mercedes Formula 1 team. And in this episode, we will be going towards our first ever race in Formula 1 as Quantum Mercedes F1. And we're hoping for an absolute doozy. Here we are, I'm just filling in my activities because obviously we need to put them in. Why they've made the slots so awkward, I never really understood. But the best part about this is that in due time you're going to be finding yourselves a rather nice car reveal. Now, the car is what I would call gorgeous, or at least I think it is anyway. Do let me know if you don't think it's very good looking, but I think it's an absolutely gorgeous car. And Quantum Mercedes F1 is going to be the name of our brand. As you can tell, by the fact that we've got Mercedes in our name, this will be a Mercedes-powered car. Here we can have a look at the R&D tree. We've got rather a lot of chassis upgrades compared to everything else. So we've got one aero upgrade, nothing on the powertrain. Our chassis, from what I've learned, you need a better chassis than you need anything else, because obviously we have a Mercedes power unit, which is technically the best in the game. I don't think we really need to be working on our powertrain too much. As you can see, we're not really that far behind. Obviously, we're a little bit further behind than the Racing Point, Mercedes and Williams. A little bit down on the Ferrari powered cars, but as a general, we're very, very much up there. And as you can see, the Honda power unit is just god awful, absolutely dreadful. Obviously the cheapest going. Here we have the downforce segment. We've only got one thing in here. This was from the interviews that we did in the last episode. If you haven't seen that already, go and check it out. It's basically how I created this team and sort of what was going on, the little bits and pieces, and obviously the big interview that we do with the bloke who I can never remember his name. Now if we look at our chassis department, we are ahead of AlphaTauri, so we are not third last in this department, which means good. That is good. And what I'm going to do here is just get our first durability upgrade, because you can never be too safe. You can never be too safe. And I do actually have insufficient resource points to develop another downforce part, but I won't be touching the powertrain at least for 2 races, just while we get ourselves up to speed with downforce and the chassis, because I don't know, I just don't really think it's going to work too well. But anyway, and we are going to be looking at the car reveal for the Q01, which is what I've decided to name the car for the Quantum Mercedes Formula 1 team. I can't wait to see the car. I bet you guys can't wait to see it either. So let's hop in to the car reveal. Oh, look at it. Oh. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is a future championship winning car. I just hope to God that this Q01 can help us towards some absolutely amazing races, which I'm sure it will. I mean, it's going to be an absolutely amazing car. Give it a few seasons and we will be finding ourselves on the top steps of the podium and potentially winning races, winning championships, and getting a lot of money, and potentially even some World Championship standard drivers. Now here is our facilities. Obviously you can tell from the interview that we had not long ago in the last episode. Our aerodynamics is looking very, very nice. Obviously our chassis R&D has been upgraded, but our aerodynamics facility has been buffed up to Spec 1, which means that we can produce more parts. The tree's a little bit more open compared to everything else, which will help us hopefully. And then next on the list will be the chassis department, because I don't know, I don't feel the need to emphasize too much into the powertrain. I don't think we're going to need to put too much into there. Obviously we're going to need to up ourselves a little bit in the durability department, just so that we can make sure our car isn't breaking all the time. And towards the end of the season, we don't want to be having broken parts and low power, because that will not be helpful, especially at the end of very, very competitive 16 race season, or what I'm hoping is going to be a very competitive season. Only time will tell. Now we're very close to getting ourselves our second sponsor. By the end of the race we should be able to grab that, and that will be included in this video. Now, due to the activities, as you can see, Mick Schumacher has picked himself up an extra 3 points on every single one of his things, which means he's now got 77 pace, 34 experience, 66 racing, obviously you can read, which is good. That means that we have a driver who has potential to be half decent. Hopefully that means that we can have a very, very good qualifying session, and hopefully an even better race. Maybe we can get ourselves into the points, who knows. It will be very fun to see what happens. Only time will tell whether we can do it or not. As you can see in the Constructors' Championship, it's zeros at the moment, but soon enough we will find out who is going to be in pole position to be winning this championship. I'm going to place my bets down. I think Lewis Hamilton's going to win the championship, with Bottas just behind and Verstappen just in behind there. That's my top three. I don't really know what else is going to happen below, because I don't really know whether Ferrari are going to be better than the Pink Panthers, or what's going to be going on in that kind of area. Maybe I should make a prediction video, we'll see. But moving forwards, we have our outfit for the Quantum Mercedes F1 team, and this is what I've gone with. It's quite simple, plainish. You can't really see the sponsors too much, which I've done on purpose because I want it to look quite clean, quite classic, I guess. And our helmet is essentially designed to look as cool as possible. I think it just looks really, really cool. So that's going to be our helmet. That's our outfit for the team. Primarily white, despite, you know, the sort of light luminous blue generalized colour on the actual car itself. I think that white just looks a little bit better uniform wise. So then, just thought I'd throw it in there. Practice one, did a few bits and bobs in the practice things, and this is what I came out with. It appears we're top of practice. Apparently on the qualifying sim though, that's only 17th, so it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Mick Schumacher finds himself down in 18th, some 4 seconds off the pace, but obviously he is on hard tyres, and I don't know, I feel like the AI drivers are definitely not warmed up yet, judging by the fact that that's a 1:22.7, and even Hamilton could only do a 1:23.8 on the mediums. So yeah, I think we've definitely got some work to do, and so do the AI drivers. So then, this is how practice shaped up. We've managed to get ourselves 990 resource points. I didn't do every single practice thing, because I know that that's not realistic, and I'm not going to be doing that every single weekend. So we're going to try and keep it real. We're about to head into qualifying now. Q1 is dawning upon us. Let's see what we can do, shall we? So then, Q1 has come to an end. Who have we lost? Who have we lost? We have lost Nicholas Latifi, Romain Grosjean, Antonio Giovinazzi, George Russell, Kimi Raikkonen, Daniel Kvyat. Mick Schumacher makes his way into the top 16. We have 2 cars in qualifying 2. Quantum Mercedes F1 are off to an absolute blinder. We've managed to get ourselves up to P9. I only put in the 1 lap. And it was only 1 second off of Hamilton, so I was like, yep, that sounds like it will do nicely. Had a look and to see how the session would go on, and it was sort of 2 seconds, the cut-off time to get into the top 16. So I thought I was safe, and I just skip my way through. Must admit though, I was heart in mouth about Mick Schumacher. I did think that he was going to get pipped at the very end of the session, but we're safe. Right, let's move on to Q2. So then, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Q2. Unfortunately, Mick Schumacher has found himself in the deep end, and not in a nice way. 2.6 seconds off the pace compared to Esteban Ocon's 2.166, which is quite a significant difference. Obviously, we're gonna allow it just because it is, you know, it's his first race in Formula 1. It's not the best car ever. I don't know how I've managed to get myself up to P3. It just must have been a cracker of a lap. I did originally, actually, try on the mediums, but it was an absolutely terrible lap. The first sector wasn't too bad, but the rest of it was just god awfully slow. Or at least the first sector didn't feel too bad. It was slow, but it didn't feel bad. But yeah, this is how Q2 has happened. We are through. Unfortunately, Mick Schumacher is not, but it's shaping up to be a Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen show. Let's just say that much. Let's get on to Q3. Well, ladies and gentlemen, qualifying is over. Now, unfortunately, this is a bit of a me problem, but I sort of accidentally skipped the whole session and only did one run. However, it was a very good run, and we've somehow managed to plant ourselves into P5. It was a very, very quick lap. The car didn't feel amazing. It wasn't great through the corners, not a lot of grip. Tails out constantly through the high-speed corners. But it's drivable, and it's quick. And I quite enjoy driving this Quantum Mercedes F1 car. Obviously, the same might not be said for Mick Schumacher, but I'm very, very much enjoying this. Obviously, we're still very much off the pace of Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. And I think in general terms, we're still off the pace of McLaren and Renault and Racing Point. I do tend to be faster at certain circuits, and this does happen to be one of them. I am generally faster at Australia. You'll probably find in Bahrain that I'm a little bit further down the pack. Maybe, who knows? I might find my sweet spot on the track with this car, but for now, this has been Q3. I think it's time to hop into the race, don't you?
Look easy.
Well, here we go.
It's been a great qualifying session for you. Are you going to carry that momentum into the race?
Yep. Great strategy, great points. That's what we're hoping for, because if we don't get points, we could have a couple of problems. This one, I'm going to take the Acclaim hit, because the car does have downforce, and it doesn't feel too heavy. So I'm just going to say I don't know, because I'm not risking losing any downforce or chassis department morale, because we need as much as we can get. I'd rather have my Acclaim affected than that. Because long term, we definitely are going to need the downforce and chassis departments up and going as much as possible. But anyway, if we look towards the end of the session, obviously Mick Schumacher is a level Acclaim 4. We are number 1, but we have moved up to level 2. We are Team Acclaim level 2, which means that we can now get ourselves a secondary sponsor.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to Melbourne for the opening race of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to the Australian Grand Prix. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Raback over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula 1. And yet here they are, first ever race looking surprisingly strong. But there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Bottas, the Rainmaster, and Sainz, Albon, Norris, Ricciardo, and Sergio Perez. Stroll, Gasly, Charles Leclerc, and Magnussen. Ocon, Schumacher, Daniel Kvyat, and Kimi Raikkonen. Russell, Giovinazzi, Grosjean, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Right then, here we are for the Australian Grand Prix. We are in position 5 for the start of the first race of the season. I cannot wait to get this underway. Strategy-wise, we were pitting on lap 6. We're only doing 25% of races, just to keep time nice and short. It will be a 15-lap race. Hopefully, there's a lot of stuff going on in that time. Obviously, if something bad happens, we may not have enough time to get back, but you just never know until it happens. Anyway, let's get ourselves involved, ready to start the Australian Grand Prix, the first race of 2020. Here we go then, the race is about to begin. Who's going to win the Australian Grand Prix? Lights are out and away we go. It's a great start from Lewis Hamilton, an absolutely mesmerising start. We managed to get ourselves still in P5. We're going to make a dive into turn 1. Carlos Sainz is down our inside. We touch with Sebastian Vettel. Can't believe it. Power down as hard as possible. ERS on, making sure the veins of this Mercedes engine are being used as much as possible. We make a dive around the outside of Carlos Sainz now, trying to get the position back into P5. We make a lunge down into Sebastian Vettel. But what's this? A safety car.
The safety car is out. Keep an eye on the
A safety car.
We
What?
need to keep it positive to avoid a penalty.
What's this all about then?
Slow down, maintain
I didn't see any crashes. No one's out the race. Codemasters. Come on. Come on, Codies. What is going on here? What on earth is this? I cannot believe this. I absolutely cannot believe it. That was such a good start. But here we are at the end of the safety car period. We're behind Sebastian Vettel, number 5, sitting currently in P5. We've got to try and keep Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris behind us. I don't think we're going to be able to attack the front 3 or the front 4 for that matter. We may be able to give it a stab at Vettel, but I don't think either Hamilton, Bottas or Verstappen are going to be letting us go anywhere. But anyway, here we go. We drive as hard as we can out of that corner, trying to get as much speed as possible down this straight to try and keep into the slipstream of Sebastian Vettel. We take it into turn 1, very nice and smooth. A bit of a wobble coming out of turn 2. We've decided to stop on lap 6. Deeper hard on the brakes now, trying to keep up with the pack. Carlos Sainz is very, very close behind you. Obviously, you can see the proximity arrows. He is very much liking the look of the back of our car and is very much looking for an overtake. We're keeping distance with Sebastian Vettel now, and we're only 4 tenths behind, and Verstappen's only a second in front of him. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully enough, because, well, if I'm being honest, I wasn't expecting to be in this position to start with in this qualifying. Let's see what we can do in this race. Now then, just moments later, and we're starting to catch up to the back of Sebastian Vettel. We make a really, really good exit here. We put the ARS down. We don't have DRS enabled at the moment. We've only just finished the safety car. We're going to make a huge lunge down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion. We show him what's good. We force him to the edge of the track. Now we need to make sure we get a good exit so that he doesn't bounce back. And it looks like we've just about managed to do that. We put it into 7th gear, make sure we don't get any unexpected oversteer. And it looks like we've made ourselves up into P4 here in the Quantum Mercedes car. I cannot quite believe what I'm seeing here. And it looks like we're starting to create a gap.
They're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
Max Verstappen slowing down. As you can see, he's losing time. It's 8 tenths, 8.1, 8 tenths, 7 tenths. He's having an absolute mare. We make a very dodgy exit though, and it doesn't look like it will be at this lap, but the following lap in exactly the same place, we make an interesting bit wobbly exit, but we've got DRS, we've got ERS, we're closing on Max Verstappen, we're going to make a lunge, and it just doesn't quite make it in. We bang tyres, very fair of Verstappen to give us the room. Vettel decides he wants to come in on the action, trying to take us on the inside for one of the penultimate corners. He doesn't quite get it, but I'm very, very worried at this point because obviously we're just behind Max Verstappen, but Vettel was right in behind us, but he has now made his pit stop. Vettel's made another pit stop. I think he must have got some damage when he was trying to overtake us on the inside, but actually with DRS here, Verstappen, and we're on the outside. We're around the outside, and we just about make the corner. Verstappen leaves us plenty of room. We've got to make sure we get a good exit here because we know Max Verstappen, a very, very fond fighter, and he does not let up positions easily. A bit wobbly at the end of the corner there. DRS, ERS enabled, but it looks like he just doesn't have enough in the tank. You can see there it's just 6 tenths, 7 tenths. We're going to box this lap just to make sure that our tyres are nice and fresh, because we don't want to get jumped by Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel for that matter. Now moving on to lap 7 at the end, we are going to make our pit stop. Valtteri Bottas should also be coming into the pits, as is Max Verstappen. Let's see what the order looks like while we're in the pits. Now Bottas has gone on to mediums. That's about all there is so far. It doesn't look like anything's happening too much. No one's overtaken us so far. Verstappen on hards. I cannot believe what I'm seeing, ladies and gentlemen. Verstappen has just gone onto the hards. I cannot quite believe what I'm seeing here. Red Bull have put Verstappen onto hard tyres despite his already worrying issues. We come out the pits now though, and Vettel is right on the back of our tail, or is he ERS enabled? He may have DRS as well, he doesn't. He's going to try and make a lunge around the outside. We're going to force him out as much as we possibly can. We're fair but harsh, and we're going to make sure that we get a nice exit here so that we don't lose out on the position. Rich mix is enabled to make sure we get a good exit, and I think that's that position kept. We are currently in provisional P4 right now. This race is looking saucy. I cannot wait to see what happens as this race unravels. We are currently in P4. Let's see how this goes. Now then, moments later, we're in lap 9 now, and we're closing into Nicholas Latifi, who is on worn mediums, bless him. I don't think he's going to be able to put up much of a fight, but the car is feeling a little bit slippery here. I was very concerned that I was going to go off at that point, but we are closing in on Latifi now. DRS enabled. We're going to go into turn 1, try force it down the inside, but he's going to hold his ground. We're going to get DRS, and we're going to enable ERS as well. We're going to take the slipstream. We're going to go around the outside. Not a very difficult overtake, but he is actually going to force us off the track a little bit here, which forces us to be a bit of an ace of manoeuvres. But we do manage to keep the position, and we are now some 6 seconds trailing Lewis Hamilton. But we've got a decent cushion over Vettel so far. Hopefully that cushion increases as he tries to overtake Nicholas Latifi. That would be quite nice because currently we are on a 2.3 second cushion. Hopefully that stays. Hopefully. And we are on lap 14 now, and unfortunately Mick Schumacher has dropped out the race. Our teammate at Quantum Mercedes Formula 1. It would have been nice to see both cars coming home to end the race. Not that he maybe would have got points. I don't really know where he was in the race, but it looks like it's just going to be myself finishing this Grand Prix, but we are in provisional third position. We are in a podium place on the final lap of the Australian Grand Prix. I cannot quite believe the scenes here at this race. It's mental. Now here we go, the final few corners of the 2020 Australian Grand Prix, the first race of the calendar, the first race for Quantum Mercedes Formula 1. Valtteri Bottas is going to take the win ahead of Lewis Hamilton, some 14 seconds ahead, and we are some 10 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, but that does not matter because we crossed the line. Here in P3. Daniel Ricciardo gets driver of the day, but if I'm honest, I think we deserve driver of the day here. Mercedes take 1-2. Unsurprising. I mean, in real life, they were exactly the same. I'm not surprised at all. But we have managed to get ourselves, in our first ever race in Formula 1, a podium. This has to have been one of the most immense races I've ever raced in this game. I mean, we had a safety car on the first lap. I don't really know why, but we had Max Verstappen going slow. We managed to overtake four-time champion Sebastian Vettel to get ourselves into P3. Obviously, we had to overtake Latifi in the process, but he was already going to have to pit. I am absolutely speechless.
After an excellent performance
I just can't believe it. Look at that. We're on the third step. How on earth have we managed that? Pure luck. Absolute pure luck. Our car is nowhere near ready to be on that podium. Nowhere near. But it's there. Somehow, some way. I just absolutely astounded. Let's skip through all this. So Max Verstappen ends up finishing P14. That's not good. I believe that was our fastest lap of the race. Our last lap. Yeah, the 24.3. That's the best we could do. That was the best I could do. Like, all out, best I could do. And that was good enough for... That was good enough for P3, to be fair. We were very, very quick. We were very, very quick. Quicker than even the Max Verstappen. Just not as quick as the Mercedes, who were miles ahead of everyone else. I mean, I was 14 seconds behind. I was just opening up a gap to Sebastian Vettel. He was driving quite slowly. I feel like he might have been having a tussle with Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo, who got driver of the day. Daniel Ricciardo driver of the day, well deserved. From P9 to P6, sounds like he had a brilliant race. Then obviously we've got Mick Schumacher at the bottom, a 25.5. Now where does that place him? I believe it places him here, so possibly P14. We'll take that. P14 would have been a decent result, I think. Nonetheless, we move. We've got ourselves a podium with the team. I just can't believe it. I'm so happy. So then here we are, the aftermath of the Australian Grand Prix. We've got ourselves some interviews. Everything went your way today. It looked like you had a really good strategy for the race. We did it. The team really pulled out all of the stops. And we raced hard. We got ourselves a podium, and it was a great strategy. But the car, great for managing tyres. All of them are applicable. We're going to go down the middle. Because it was a very hard race, and I am extremely thrilled. I cannot believe how good the car was in that race. We managed to get a podium.
Great.
A podium! I still can't believe it. I'm still in disbelief. I cannot believe that we've managed to get ourselves on the podium in the first race of the calendar at Australia with Quantum Mercedes F1. It's just mind-boggling. Now, obviously, we're not going to get much acclaim from Mick Schumacher. Obviously, he didn't finish the race, which is a really sad, actually. But as you can see there, he's got some damage, which I believe would have been from the retirement. Obviously, we saw him parked up at the edge of the track, but we don't actually know what was wrong with the car. I assume it's something mechanical. So then, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. That has been the Australian Grand Prix. What a race. What an absolute race. What we're going to do here is we're going to pick our sponsor. We're going to go to weekly income goal bonus. We are going to pick... Not Blue Star. We're not going to pick Blue Star. I don't think we're going to be getting fastest laps. Don't really want to deal with interview questions. Complete a total of 30 laps of practice. No. What else can we find? Equator Oil scored 10 constructors points in a race. I don't think we're going to be doing that every single weekend. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have actually decided that this is probably the best sponsor going forwards. It's to score 5 Constructors Champion points during a weekend, which I think might be doable. Obviously, we're going to have to work extremely hard to get our goal bonuses, but compared to the next ones up, overtake 15 drivers, I don't know how interesting the races are going to be. For overtakes, and that's different drivers. That's 15 different drivers in a race. That's almost impossible to do every single race. Achieve the fastest lap. I don't think we're going to be able to do that just because the car isn't quite there yet. Score 10 championship points. I'd like to think we could, but I just don't want to risk it. And then we've got achieve 75 laps during a race weekend, which I just don't see happening. So we are going to be sticking with XER or XER or whatever you want to call it. This will be our sponsor, our secondary sponsor. So yeah, XL, welcome to the team. Let's put her on the car. And I will show you what the car looks like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the sponsor on the car and I will show you what our brand new car looks like with all the sponsors. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the car. Obviously, we've only got 2 sponsors. I mean, you can only put so many sponsors there, but we've gone mainly for TriStar, obviously because they are our primary sponsor, and I think that XER looks well. It looks alright in certain places, but it just doesn't fit. It's quite a small logo, and I just don't think it fits in most places. So we've gone with this. This is going to be our car for the foreseeable until we can find ourselves some more sponsors. I hope you like it, because I certainly do, and I think it's an absolutely gorgeous car. I can't wait to get these sponsors goal bonuses and just get a load of money and develop this car as much as possible. The facilities will be being used a lot. But anyway, guys, I hope you really have enjoyed this episode of Formula 1 2020, the first race of the season, Australia, where we've managed to somehow pick up ourselves a podium. I just don't know how we've done it. If we look at the constructors' standings, we're second. We're second in the Constructors' Championship. Charles Leclerc didn't score any points, so Ferrari are missing out. It was an interesting weekend, to say the least. Haas Williams and Alfa Romeo obviously not picking up any points, but AlphaTauri picking up a point, a few Pierre Gasly, and I've just figured out that we're going to have to get P7 or above every single race to be able to meet our sponsor bonuses. This is going to be a tough season. I can't wait to share it with you guys, but for now, that's been me, JD Garley. And if you did like the video, obviously hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here, and as always, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day or evening. I will see you guys in the next episode. See you in a bit.